Hey, what is this? I think we need an unboxing video. This is our dart mat and a few other things. Let's check it out. Hello everyone, I'm Josh from Chip Theory Games, and I'm here to reveal a brand new prototype that we just got in. This is Dart, our newest gear lock, and she is full of cool surprises. So while Shannon's going to go through some of the gameplay aspects in a second, I wanted to take a little time to just talk about the inspiration for this character. To start, we wanted to put a character right in the middle of what's going on with the Splice and Dice scene, and that is Nobulus underground in his lab testing these tyrants, creating tyrants from baddies. Dart is a scientist, or was, employed by Nobulus. This character is one who has escaped now from the labs with the help of her little Pigadillo, and now is a playable gear lock. And what's really cool is we've built in some things that aren't anywhere close to what you've seen with our other gear locks. The main one is the fact that she flips over. So when you lock your skill dice in this mat, hopefully, we're still in the design process of this gear lock, but those dice then stay and have different effects on the other side. When she turns dangerous, Dangerous Dart takes on a different feel completely. Instead of throwing her darts, one per baddie and doing damage and a lot of crowd control, the Pigadillo takes over and is the star and charges around the mat under her control and sometimes not under her control. And it takes on a completely different form. So now Shannon's going to take you through a little bit more on how she plays.
Hi, I'm Shannon from Chip Theory Games, and today I am giving you a sneak preview of our brand new gear lock, Dart. Before we jump into the preview, I want to mention that everything you're seeing today are prototype components. The finished product is going to have our edge stitch neoprene mats, our PVC reference sheets, the heat pressed dice, and the heavy weighted chips. So this is Dart. She's a gifted scientist who was previously working in Nobulus's laboratories, but with the help of her Pigadillo friend Board, she managed to escape from this toxic work environment. Though the laboratories are behind her, Dart does still suffer some side effects from the experiments she was involved in working in the lab. She also managed to take with her some agents that have proven useful to her and Board while they've been on the run. Dart is a very versatile gear lock. She is ranged, which means that she can target any baddie on the board, but her ranged abilities do work a bit differently than any other gear lock we've seen so far. She can even target her fellow gear locks in order to assist them, but she can only roll one attack die against each target at the start of the battle, and she can increase how many attack dice she can roll by defeating units. Let's talk a little about how Dart's basic stats work before we jump into more detail on her skills. Dart is a fairly fast gear lock when it comes to initiative. Her initiative die has 2 2s, 2 4s, and 2 5s. In terms of her starting stats, Dart's health starts out pretty low at a 3, her dexterity starts out pretty high at 4, and her attack and defense are fairly average at 2 and 1. You'll also notice that her stat dice go from 1 to 3 instead of up to 6, and you'll see why that is in a moment. Dart has just 2 locked slots and 4 active slots, which gives her lots of space to store defense dice and skills. Dart's innate is called Pigadillo Wrangler, so this seems like a good time to introduce you to her Pigadillo friend, Board. Before battle, Dart is able to roll her Pigadillo die and place it into a locked slot. There are 3 possible results on the Pigadillo die. There's a 0 HP, a 3 HP, and a 4 HP Pigadillo. The 0 HP Pigadillo functions a little bit differently than the rest, but either way, when you lock in this die, you are going to add Pigadillo to the battle map. While Dart is ranged, the Pigadillo is a melee character, so it can start the battle in any of the gear lock melee positions. Alternatively, Dart can start the battle mounted, in which case Pigadillo starts underneath Dart. Board acts as part of Dart's turn. The Pigadillo can move 0 or 2 spaces on its turn, and if Dart is mounted, she will move with it. Dart can also use her own movement to move on or off of the Pigadillo, and this also means that Dart can effectively move through Board. As I mentioned earlier, there are two different sides to board. The standard side is the one with HP, and this companion can be targeted, but it doesn't have any attack itself. If Dart is mounted on the Pigadillo, then when attacked, Dart can choose whether she takes the damage or whether it comes off of the Pigadillo. And if the Pigadillo runs out of HP, it is knocked out and her die is exhausted. The second side of board is the side without HP. This Pigadillo acts as an obstacle. It can't attack and it can't be targeted, but it can be strategically positioned to take up spots beside Dart so that baddies can't get to her, and she can also mount this Pigadillo to get around the board more efficiently. The other part of Dart's innate is that she starts each battle with this bullseye die in her locked slots. This is a counter and it resets at the end of each battle. It starts battle with its one attack die side face up. This is indicating how many attack dice Dart can roll at each target per turn. She can increase this die by defeating a baddie, and every defeat increases it by 1. Each increase adds 1 to the number of attack dice that Dart can roll at each of her targets every turn, keeping in mind that she's still constrained by her attack and dexterity stats. Dart's innate +1 is called Pigadillo Master. When Dart attains this, she no longer has to roll the Pigadillo die, and instead at the beginning of each battle, she can choose which side this die will be on. Dart has 4 professions, each with a different focus. The first, Pharmacist, focuses on buffs and abilities to help her fellow gearlocs and herself. Then we have Anesthetist, a compilation of inhibiting serums Dart has accumulated to apply to her foes. Similarly, the Toxicologist line is another set of toxins designed to negatively affect Dart's enemies. Finally, we have the Bioweapon Profession, a wide array of skills designed to help Dart in battle. The first 3 of Dart's professions, Pharmacist, Anesthetist, and Toxicologist, are agents. Thematically, the agents are what she fills her darts with to affect her targets. Agents have to be rolled alongside an attack die, or a dart. When selecting your dice to roll, you'll declare the target for your attack dice and decide which agents to apply to each. You can apply as many agents as you would like to a single dart, as long as they are from the same profession and you have enough dexterity to do so. If you're rolling multiple attack dice, you can apply each to a different baddie and attach different agents to each of those. If you've increased your bullseye die, you can even roll multiple attack dice against the same baddie, attaching agents from different professions to each. When rolling for multiple targets, you have to decide which agents and attack dice are applying to each target ahead of time. And you'll roll these attacks separately, just as you would for a baddie that has multiple targets. An agent is successfully applied even if a bone is rolled, but a hit on an attack die also does a damage like normal. The agent is left on top of the baddie chip just like a status effect would be. When an attack die is used to apply an agent, it is exhausted, but there are ways to unexhaust these dice, which we'll talk about later. Even if you rolled a bone, you still need to exhaust that attack die, so you'll need to grab another attack die out of the dice pool to represent your bone if you're choosing to lock it in. The effect of agents is generally going to trigger on the affected unit's turn. Then at the end of its turn, the agents on it are always going to degrade. You have to remove one of each profession of agents from the baddie. If there's multiple of the same profession, then you can choose which one is removed. Agents don't exhaust when they degrade. Instead, they're added back to Dart's skill area, and they can be used again on a future turn. Now let's talk about Dart's agents in more detail. The Pharmacist line of darts are agents that you can apply to gearlocs or Dart herself. Remember that you do have to roll these with an attack die, so you might have to hurt an ally in order to help them. Each die in the Pharmacist Profession has 2 sides that have a red bone on it. If you roll that on your agent, you can either put it in Dart's backup plan for normal, or you can put it on the target gearloc. If you put it on the target gearloc, it's going to act as an agent, and on that gearloc's turn, it'll trigger and give it a bone for their own backup plan. The first die in the Pharmacist line is Rejuvium. On top of the red bones, it has 2 sides that will heal the gearloc for 2 HP. And then 2 sides that will heal the gearloc for 1 HP and give it a buff HP. The second agent in this line is Roids, and it has 2 sides that will add an attack die to the gearloc and 2 sides that will add 2 attack dice to the gearloc. Next up, we have the Retroactizor. It will grant the gearloc either 1 reroll or 2 rerolls on a single die. This is really useful if you have a gearloc that's looking for a specific role on a die. And last but not least, we have Relaxatol. This agent allows the gearloc to delay its turn in initiative, and for every spot that the gearloc delays, it's going to get an extra dexterity when its turn does come up. The next two professions, the Anesthetist and Toxicologist Professions, are all agents that can be applied to baddies. These ones all have one side with two red bones, and just like in the pharmacist line, the bones can be applied to Dart's backup plan or on the baddie as an agent. And if it's triggered as an agent on a baddie, it's going to trigger their bones. Looking at the anesthetist line, the first agent in that line is agitatazole. This agent forces a baddie to move either 1 or 2 spaces in the direction of your choosing. The next agent in this line is Improve a Wound, and this agent forces a baddie to lose HP when it moves on its turn. It can reduce HP by either 1 or by 2. The last agent in this profession is Numbcore, and it is a movement reducer on the baddie, so it will decrease its movement by 1. The last line related to agents is the Toxicologist line. The first agent in this line is Confusadol. It has 2 abilities. First, it reduces the baddie's attack stat by either 1 or 2, and then it also inverts the baddie's attack preference. So if the baddie would normally be targeting the strongest gearloc, it'll now target the weakest, or vice versa. The second agent in this line is Reduce a Grip. This is going to reduce the baddie's active defense and defense stat by either 1 or 2. The last of the agents is Agonizepam. This either adds to or multiplies the damage being dealt from an attack die on the baddie. Now that we've gone through all of the agents and what they do, I do want to take you through a couple rounds of gameplay so you can see how the agents work in action. So I've set up a game here. We have Dart and Pigadillo on the board, and Dart is first in initiative. We have 5 dexterity, so rolling 5 dice. I am going to roll 2 attack dice and 3 agents. I have to assign 1 set of these agents to one baddie and 1 to the other. So we'll roll the purple dice against the dragon and the blue dice against the goblin. Roll them as separate sets. So we've rolled 2 agents on the dragon with 1 attack dice. That does 1 damage. I'm going to take the red bones and put them in my backup plan since this baddie won't benefit from having any bones. And then the -1 HP, which will trigger on its turn, is an agent that's going to go on that baddie. And this attack die is now exhausted. We do the same thing for the goblin over here. We again rolled bones, but at least we have a hit. And I'm going to take those bones and put them in my backup plan as well. So this attack die, again, is exhausted because it was used on an agent. Now the baddies get to take their turn. The dragon is up first, and it has an agent we need to trigger. It's a -1 HP if it moves, and it's moving 1 spot right now because it is targeting the Pigadillo. And then rolling its 3 attack to defense. And Pigadillo is taking 3 hits. The dragon is getting 2 defense. And then we have to remember to degrade our agents at the end of the turn. So this goes away, but goes back onto Dart's mat to be used again. Next up, we have our goblin, and it is going to be attacking Pigadillo. So rolling 2 attack dice. And we have 1 hit, which is going to take out our Pigadillo, and a bone. So unfortunately, we lost board, but we made it through 1 round without taking any damage because it was able to soak that, so that's good. Going in round 2, we have an attack stat of 4, but we have 2 exhausted, so we can only roll a maximum of 2 attack dice. And that's what we're going to roll along with our last 2 agents. And we'll roll a defense die to round it out. I have to declare which targets these are going on. Of course, the green agents always go on gearlocs, and the purple ones going on baddies. So I'll roll that first. We have another 2 bones, which I'm going to put in the backup plan, and 1 hit. And then over here, we have 1 hit on Dart, which is going to allow us to apply this healing ability. And then both of those attack dice are exhausted again. Now, I do have lots of bones in my backup plan, but we're going to talk about the backup plan a little later, so we'll ignore that for now. So that is Dart's turn. We go into the dragon's turn. It is getting adjacent to Dart now. We'll put it right here. And it's rolling its 3 attack dice on Dart. 3 hits takes us down to 1 HP. And then we have the goblin, which is going to move 2 spaces, and it's not adjacent, so it doesn't attack. So going into round 3 with Dart up first, very first thing we get to do is activate the agent that is on her, and that heals her for 2 HP. But then the agent again degrades and goes back to her mat. And that's just a little bit of a sample of how the agents would work in gameplay. After showing you a quick round of gameplay with the agents, I'm going to take you through the rest of Dart's skills. So the bioweapon line is her final profession, and these are all normal skills that exhaust when used. We've already talked about the bullseye and Pigadillo dice. So moving over to the stolen tech die. When the proper side of this die is rolled, Dart can take a fortunate discovery loot right out of the loot deck and put it in her loot area. Next we have Snooze Us In. This die has 1 side that will affect a 20-point baddie or less, 2 sides that will affect a 5-point baddie or less, and 3 sides that will affect a 1-point baddie. When this die is successfully rolled on a baddie, the baddie is going to lose its next turn, effectively stunning it. But the die will be removed if that baddie loses HP for any reason. The last skill in the bioweapon line is Tetanus. This is also applied to a baddie and acts as a counter. So for the next 1, 2, or 3 turns, that baddie will take 1 true damage. The last die in Dart's set is the Bandolier, which is her consumable. This die is rolled upon acquired, and it will grant her either 1, 2, or 3 darts, which get added to her prep area immediately. These are attack dice that Dart can now roll on any turn in addition to her dexterity and her attack stat. Now let's talk about Dart's backup plan, which has some really interesting abilities in it. The backup plan in Dart's first slot is Magnatech. This allows Dart to unexhaust 1 attack die in her exhausted area. This is really important since Dart is exhausting attack dice when she's applying her agents. We're going to go a little out of order and talk about Dart's 4th backup plan now, which is Electromagnetech. It's related to the one we just talked about. This allows Dart to unexhaust all of her attack dice and heal 3 HP. Moving back over to Dart's 2nd backup plan option, the Stolen Vials deals 2 damage to a baddie that has an agent on it. Last, we have Dart's 3rd and 5th backup plans, Danger Zone and Critical Danger, and both of these backup plans do the same thing. They allow Dart to go dangerous, which flips her mat to the opposite side. We now have Dart set up on her dangerous side, and we're going to look at the backup plan again first. The dice that are in the backup plan are going to act as a timer. So while you can go dangerous at 3 or 5 bones, going dangerous at 5 is going to give you more time on the dangerous side. When you flip Dart's mat, all of the dice are going to stay in their spots. Dart's mat is actually going to be thicker than your standard gearloc mat, so all of the dice should stay in place. After flipping to her dangerous side, we need to remove all defense and skill dice granted by other gearlocs. Dangerous Dart needs her impervious Pigadillo, so if that's on the board, she will automatically move onto it and mount it. However, if Dart has her non-impervious Pigadillo in play, like this one, she would turn it into an impervious Pigadillo, removing its HP and then mounting it like before. If Pigadillo is not on the board because it's already been exhausted or hasn't entered play yet, you are going to add Pigadillo to the board underneath Dart. While Dart is in dangerous mode, she has to stay mounted on her impervious Pigadillo the entire time. There are a couple things in Dangerous Dart's basic stat area that I want to draw your attention to, and the first is that Dangerous Dart is a melee gearlock instead of ranged. The other thing is that if Dart had any stat dice locked in, when she flips, those stats are going to stay the same. You'll also notice that Dangerous Dart's skill area has changed. It's now a replica of the battle mat, and the skills over here are going to function in a very different way than they do on a standard gearlock. Immediately when Dart becomes dangerous, and on each of her turns while dangerous, Dart and board can rampage. You'll see that each of the spots on her skills area matches a spot on the battle mat. And for free, Dart and board can move around the board, landing on places that correspond where a skill die is in order to trigger a special ability. When Dart and board stop on a spot on the battle mat while rampaging, they are going to deal 1 damage to an adjacent baddie and trigger the skill that's on the corresponding spot on the skills area. The actual skill doesn't matter. What does matter is the profession that that skill is from. Each profession will do a different ability. If Dart and board were to rampage to this position, they would be on a spot that corresponds to a pharmacist die. That allows them to do 1 damage to the baddie and then push that line of baddies as far as it can go in one direction. When Dart and board move into a space that corresponds to a toxicologist line, after doing 1 damage, they will sweep the baddie into an adjacent spot. When Dart and board rampage into a position that corresponds with the anesthetist line, after doing 1 damage to the baddie, they can swap spots with an adjacent unit. After moving into a bioweapon position, like so, Dart would be able to do a damage to an adjacent unit, and then if that unit wasn't defeated, they would be able to jump over it. Finally, if Dart moves into the position where her consumable dice is located, after dealing 1 damage to an adjacent baddie, she can deal 2 more damage. Dart and board can continue to rampage around the board, landing on new skills. However, they can stop at any time and they can never trigger the same skill twice. Each time Dart and board trigger a skill during rampage, 1 die needs to be removed from the countdown timer. And when this timer runs out of dice, Dart has to flip back over to her standard side. As well, if Dart doesn't go into rampage on a turn, a die is removed from the countdown anyways. While in dangerous mode, Dart can still take her turns as normal. Pigadillo still gets a movement of either 0 or 2 spaces for free. Dart does have to stay mounted on Pigadillo, so can't move off. But Dart can still attack using melee attack form and can still attack multiple targets just like normal. That concludes our preview of Dart. Hopefully you can see from this video how unique and versatile a gearlock Dart is and what a great addition to our current line of gearlocks she'll be. If you're interested in picking her up, you should head over to our Splice and Dice Kickstarter page if that's not where you're watching this video already. And we want to thank you so much for watching.